Hey guys, my name is Matt and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to talk about camera buttons again, specifically focusing modes, what they are and when to use them. So generally with cameras today you have a couple of different focusing modes. You have your automatic focusing mode and your manual focusing mode. I'm going to go out on a limb here and I may upset a few camera purists or photographer purists, but generally when you're starting off as a beginner photographer, my recommendation is to use automatic focusing and not use manual focusing. Autofocus is your friend. It's a much more accurate and faster way to get tack sharp objects and tack sharp pictures when you're a beginner photographer, and you can always learn manual focus later on in your photography journey. I very rarely use manual focus. I would say 99% of the time I'm using autofocus for every photo that I take. With autofocus, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You point your camera towards an object and you press your shutter button down or your focus button down and your camera will automatically focus for you. The first autofocus mode that we're going to talk about is single shot or one shot autofocus. This mode is generally used when you have static objects that are not moving, so maybe a portrait, maybe a watch, it may be something like a landscape. It's not moving, so you generally want to use single shot autofocus here. With single shot autofocus, it essentially focuses on one object. So you press your shutter down, it focuses on your subject, and then your camera stops focusing. The second mode we're going to talk about under the autofocus umbrella is continuous autofocus. Sometimes it could be referred to different names like AI servo on Canon or AFC, say on Nikon. Continuous focusing mode is generally used when you have a moving subject. With the focusing point that you have selected on your camera will focus and refocus continuously as long as your shutter is pressed halfway down. What you want to do is you're going to select an autofocus point on your camera. So I'm going to use the middle one just as an example, and I'm going to look at my subject. It could be a moving car, it could be a moving person, it could be anything really that's moving. And I'm going to point that center focus button towards my subject, and I'm going to press my shutter button halfway down. As long as it's moving kind of like that, your camera is focusing and refocusing. If you have a moving car, for example, I'm going to set my camera up, I'm going to take a picture of that car, or I'm going to focus on that car, and when it's moving, I can move my camera like this, up and down, or wherever the car is going, and my camera will continuously focus on that car. On some camera brands, there's an autofocus mode that tries to suggest or tries to guess which camera focusing mode to use, whether it be continuous or one shot or single shot AF. I've used this mode before at a concert or live music event when I initially started doing photography, and essentially it guessed for me. Sometimes it was accurate, sometimes it wasn't. I generally wouldn't use this mode anymore. This mode may work for you, it might not. Try it out, see what happens, but generally I like to use the definite modes, the continuous autofocus or the single shot or one shot AF. The last mode that we're going to talk about today is manual focus. In this mode, the camera is doing no work for you at all. You have to make sure that you are moving that focusing ring and you have to be spot on, but essentially you are taking the control out of the camera and putting it on yourself. A lot of the film industry use manual focusing modes when they're doing big productions, big movies, and they often hire someone just to pull focus. So you might have someone that's just operating that focus ring and that's their only job. I have used manual focus before at some weddings where I'm taking a detailed shot of a ring and I want to be super precise, and especially with a macro lens where the depth of field is so shallow that your autofocus might jump to a point where you don't want to focus on. So I've used manual focus and dialed in my picture sometimes there. So that's it for today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you could like and subscribe and tell your friends about it, that'd be great too. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.